positive vision.
United Nations officials in Somalia are still trying to negotiate a permanent ceasefire to end the country's civil war. At least 30,000 people have been killed or wounded in the last 3 months, mainly in the area around the capital of Mogadishu. Millions more are facing starvation, but aid agencies say only a fraction of the emergency food is reaching the relief camps.
In a country that's ruled by the gun, even the charities are armed to the teeth, forced to hire rocket launchers and machine guns to protect what little aid gets into Mogadishu. This convoy is one of the few to get past bandits that control the airport, 10 tons of food and medical supplies, which make an easy target. It's 3 miles and countless roadblocks from the airport to the city. Each checkpoint has to be carefully negotiated. 40 aid workers have been shot since December.
Now, the problem is in this area is such a volatile commodity that we carry. People don't know what it is, and they suspect it's general food for them. So we'd rather have people trying to jump on the trucks and throw boxes off.
Neither side has control of the capital in this civil war. As they fight for supremacy, the killing is indiscriminate and the looting constant. The charities say hiring their own gunmen is against everything they believe in, but they have no alternative.
We've taken bizarre steps that we've never adopted anywhere else in the world, of actually having guns with us in cars to do our work, and it's simply because we can't function any other way.
The convoy provides a trickle of aid to the feeding centres. 100 refugees arrive here every day. A third are already suffering from malnutrition. Aid workers have to choose who to feed and who is beyond help. They only have enough supplies for 5% of those in the camps.
If those camps don't get general rations, those children will be the next ones to die. So the most innocent, the most vulnerable are dying because of this war.
The UN Peace Initiative is seen as the last chance to stop the fighting and to allow aid in the quantity that's needed into Somalia. The charities don't hold out much hope as the warlords maintain their stranglehold on a country they look prepared to kill.
EC foreign ministers meeting in Brussels have been told the economic situation in the former Soviet Union is so bad the community must reconsider its aid strategy. EC Commissioner Frans Andriessen says existing provisions are piecemeal and that aid is now needed on a much larger scale. Our Europe correspondent James Robbins reports.
Just back from the Commonwealth of Independent States, this is Commissioner Frans Andriessen's assessment for foreign ministers. Increased aid is vital if reform and democracy is to be protected from opposition fuelled by economic failure. Community foreign ministers battling to make themselves heard above the noise of a Greek demonstration over Yugoslavia accept the urgency of the task. But the Foreign Secretary is keen to ensure the positive dialogue between Russia and the International Monetary Fund over future aid should not be upset by EC initiatives.
I'm sure that we should concentrate, the community should concentrate on the food aid and technical assistance. And the further help should be processed through the IMF, which is going ahead quite fast.
Inside the Commonwealth of Independent States, much of the EC's aid and loans programme has been disrupted by immense organisational problems and arguments over future repayment of loans. So Mr Andriessen told ministers he wants Europe's conditions, still blocking an EC loan of £900 million, to be eased, an idea apparently finding favour after months of deadlock, with Mr Hurd among those sympathetic to dropping stringent demands on repayment. The central message from this meeting is that the West needs to do more and more quickly. Ministers are stressing that the stability of Europe will be under threat again if true stability cannot be created and maintained in the emerging democracies of the former Soviet Union. James Robbins, BBC News, Brussels.
In the American election campaign, President Bush is preparing for a second showdown with his conservative challenger, Pat Buchanan. Last month, Buchanan embarrassed Bush by polling strongly in the opening Republican primary in New Hampshire. The battleground for the latest skirmish is the crucial southern state of Georgia. Our chief North America correspondent, Gavin Esler, reports.
Pat Buchanan can hardly believe his luck. When he began his ultra-conservative challenge to George Bush, he told the BBC last month's New Hampshire primary might be his first and last stand. Now, boosted by that result in the Deep South, he's piling on the pressure, accusing Bush of being a wet Washington liberal. Buchanan has a campaign cocktail of anti-Bush issues, taxes, race, and a bitter anti-homosexual diatribe accusing Bush of funding pornography through America's Arts Council, the NEA.
Madam President, we won't be paying for it with American tax dollars, and we will shut down that NEA and padlock and fumigate the building.
In the last 3 years, the Bush administration has invested our tax dollars in pornographic and blasphemous art.
In Georgia, Buchanan has run anti-Bush advertisements on the same theme, making this one of the dirtiest Republican campaigns ever. On his tour of the South, Mr. Bush has actually done very little campaigning, and despite his own negative advertisements, the president pleaded for a clean fight.
We are going to take our message all across the country. You don't have to be a negative message. You don't have to always be saying something bad about somebody else. We got lots to be proud of.
But it seems Buchanan, whose campaign did not even exist 3 months ago and yet now qualifies for Secret Service protection, can afford to be smug. The president of the Republican Party are already embarrassed and could be seriously damaged. Even if he fails to win, Buchanan cannot lose. Gavin Esler, BBC News, with the Buchanan campaign.
5 African countries are calling for the ban on ivory trading to be relaxed because of a recent dramatic increase in the numbers of African elephants. The proposal looks likely to face fierce opposition at an international conference on endangered species, which has just begun in Japan. Justin Webb reports.
A Zambian village early last month. A bonfire is being built. It's constructed entirely of ivory, poached ivory, seized by the government. Under the terms of the worldwide ban on ivory trading, it must burn, a sign to the poachers that their trade will not pay. But as African elephant herds increase and the danger of extinction apparently recedes, some African governments are growing restive. 5 southern African nations are now calling for the ban on the ivory trade to be partially lifted. They complain that the ban prevents them from earning desperately needed foreign currency from selling the ivory of legally killed elephants, Zimbabwe alone losing £17 million a year. But that view will be fiercely resisted by many delegates to the wildlife conference known as CITES, which opened in Japan today.
It's so difficult to stop illegal ivory filtering into a legal trade that our view is that really there should be no trade in ivory, because however good the situation is in southern Africa, it would be a disaster for the elephant elsewhere in the continent.
Japanese craftsmen used to be the world's biggest customers for ivory. This man is using his remaining stocks from before the ban. He'd like more ivory, but not, he says, if that encouraged the evil of poaching.
We would welcome the resumption of ivory trade if it wouldn't lead to poaching. But if the ban was to be lifted, I fear there will be more appetite for ivory, which would inevitably lead to poaching. And I wouldn't welcome that. I wouldn't want to carve poached elephant tusks.
The arguments will intensify this week as the world again considers the future of the African elephant.
Next month is the 10th anniversary of the Argentine invasion of the Falkland Islands. It took 2 months for Britain to regain the territory and cost 250 British servicemen their lives. More than 1,000 Argentines also died in the conflict. Brian Hanrahan, who covered the war for the BBC, has been back to the islands and sends this report.